To record. Great. Thank you all for joining us today to do a quick review of Edwin and some basics on using Edwin and understanding some of the changes to Edwin with our most recent migration to the cloud. So what we're going to do today, I'm just going to briefly talk about what are some of the reports that are in Edwin and how you can figure out all of the information that's in there that you could access. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough on the process of logging into Edwin and highlight, I think, two major things to keep in mind as you're using Edwin this fall. Whether you're new to Edwin or if you've used it before, these are sort of changes to the platform that are important to keep in mind in order to have a good user experience. Then we're going to jump into a live demo. I'm going to walk through two reports, but again, that's a time where if you have questions, you can jump on in and we can look at some other stuff. I'll spend time in the live version of Edwin as well as the training environment to look at a student level report. And I added Q&A as a bullet, but again, as we are going along, please feel free to put questions within the chat. I'll be trying to moderate that. Or you can take yourself off mute to ask a question. So please feel free to do that. So what are the reports within Edwin? And there's a couple of different ways for you to see sort of all of what's available. One is on our Edwin homepage. We have an Edwin report tool. And this is sort of a Power BI interface where you can sort of click through the different buckets of reports. We bucket reports by topic and subtopic. And they're in folders within sort of the Edwin proper. And here we have them on different tabs. So you have MCAS and Access for Ls to sort of assessment buckets. We also have a number of classroom reports where you can look at how various students have done by sort of subject area or by teacher. There are a number of educator reports looking at not only educational evaluation, which are very few people have access to that at the local level, but you also can look at things tied to sort of licensure or some of our student equity reports to sort of see the experience that different types of students have had in terms of the types of educators they've been exposed to. We also have early warning indicator reports. The EWIS, that's this time of year is when our EWIS data is most fresh. School climate, which uses vocal data, which is the student survey data given to 4th, 5th, 8th, and 10th graders. There's a dashboard for that as well as a report. We have student enrollment and indicators, and that's a bucket that has the student profile report, which is one of, I think, the most powerful reports we have in Edwin. I'm going to show you that. So we have the student profile report, as well as you have reports on English learners. There's also a great English learner dashboard in there. We have some students with disabilities reports that helps you sort of see students with IEPs compared to students without IEPs. And I think there's a couple of discipline reports in there as well. I think those are the big buckets in the student enrollment and indicators. High school and beyond looks at how your kids do within high school. There's some CVTE reports as well as course performance reports, FAFSA completion. And then you also get some reports of how your students have done once they've gone on to post-secondary. That's pulling data from National Student Clearinghouse, as well as for students who go on to Mass public schools, we have some data from DHE to sort of see how those students are doing within Mass publics. There are a couple of finance reports that are currently within Edwin. We also have educator prep reports and early education reports. So this tool, you can sort of click through, see what reports are in there by name, and then a brief description of them. And this lives on our public website. You do not need to have access to Edwin in order to see this information. If you're not a report tool interface thing, and you just say, I want an Excel spreadsheet where I can filter and I can cut and paste and I can mark things up, you can download a report list from the Edwin webpage as well. You can also download it from the Edwin analytics tool. I'll note the report list is going to be updated probably this week. It's going to note the two dashboards, that L dashboard and the vocal dashboard, which I commented on, and then it's going to actually remove a report that used to be in Edwin, but is now publicly available, one of our workforce reports. Oh yeah, that's another high school and beyond bucket. There is a report that helps you see how students have done in the workforce. So you can look at kids who maybe 6 years after they leave your school, high school, if you're a high school, how have they done in terms of the workforce? That's not at the student level, that's sort of an aggregate view report. But that is a ton. Again, any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We've covered what's in Edwin. Now a little bit about Edwin's move to the cloud. It's migrated to the cloud. Actually, it's DESE security portal. So if you use other applications, those also might be a little different. And the biggest thing is actually logging on to the security portal is different now. This process of preparing for this migration started in April. So you, as Edwin users and users of the security portal, you've likely gotten a lot of communication from April to now to say, hey, pre-register for the new portal, blah, 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 blah. If you did that pre-registration, you can now easily reset your password and log in. If you have forgot to do the pre-registration, the first thing to do, just try resetting the password, and I'll sort of show you where you can do that. Otherwise, you're going to contact your local administrator or the ESP, Education Security Portal, help desk, and they can help you do it. And another thing to note is this is now multi-factor authentication. So it takes a little bit longer to log into Edwin. But how you do it, the first thing, same way it's always been, when you're on the Edwin or you're anywhere on the DESE homepage, if you're anywhere on this DESE homepage, in the top right corner, there's a security portal click, and you sort of click there. And that then will take you to this education security portal login page. And here's the thing of, if this is the first time you've logged on this fall, the first time since the last week of August you've logged on and the screen looks like this, you might want to do the forgot your password and try resetting your password, see if that works. If that does not work, you can go to the why can't I log in? And that's going to take you to the steps I had on just that previous slide, where it says, contact your local administrator, and it's a link to help you figure out who that person is, or the ESP help desk, and it's a link and the phone number written out for you there. But if you've already done it, you fill out your thing, you fill out your information, your password, you hit login, you're going to get a verify your identity page. Mine's tied to my email address. So I do that and I hit next, and then I get a code emailed to me. Now, I'll warn you, the timing for this code, sometimes it comes within a couple of seconds. Sometimes it does feel like it takes maybe a minute or so. I think that depends on sort of the traffic of what's going on in that moment. I just want to warn you, sometimes it does feel like it takes a couple seconds for it to come. So be a little patient. Once you get the code, though, you enter it there, and then you hit enter, and you get your Education Security Portal login. It's going to have a list of all the applications you have there. And you're going to want the Edwin Analytics one. So that's sort of the walkthrough of how to log on. I see a question came in of if DESE had its own data center prior to the migration. We did, we have data tables, and those data tables are still there. It's just sort of everything has migrated. I'm not quite the IT person. And so Emerson, if you want, I can hook you up with someone to give you more information about what we were and where we've gone. I sort of, sometimes it feels a little bit like a black box to me, and I just pay attention to the parts I need to pay attention to and move the black box otherwise, but I can figure out a little bit more. So another question, is there someone I can go to in order to explore why someone can't log in? I think the ESP help desk would be the best place to go for that. I would recommend that as the first sort of pass. Or, I mean, you say you're a system admin. I don't know if that means you're the local directory administrator. I think the directory administrator can also help dig in. However, if you're the local directory administrator and you're having challenges with a particular issue, you can reach out to the ESP help desk. It can be confusing. A lot of users actually have more than one security portal login, you have one tied to sort of your ELAR account, and that follows you regardless of sort of what district you work in. And then, however, for a number of the other applications, that is tied to your district, right? Because if you move districts or schools, you don't want the access to follow with you. So I know that can produce some confusion. I know some DESE staff was having challenges figuring out which email was tied to which login and getting the right one set up. But I think your ESP help desk person should be able to help you out with that. And I know they've been working really, really hard over the last week, but I think some of the initial rush of people has dissipated. So hopefully it won't take too long for them to work it out for you. Great. So this is sort of the logging on. Again, if you have more trouble with logging on, ESP Help Desk is a great thing. If you still really struggle with it and the ESP Help Desk has not been able to be helpful, feel free to reach out to me, or you can fill out a ticket. I'm going to walk through sort of the ServiceNow tickets. There are links within there. You can try that as well. But I think the first pass, ESP Help Desk, is great. So then once you've clicked on Edwin within the security portal, within the security portal, you get the Edwin home pages. And again, this mirrors what I showed on that Edwin report tool. Reports are bucketed together in topical folders or subfolders. And you can always use this search box in the top corner to sort of type in either any part of the report name, or we now have it so it's able to pull keywords. Like if you're like, I know there was a graph in this report that I really liked, and you type in graph, it will bring up a lot of the reports that have graphs in them. So you can say, oh, it's the growth scatter plot. That's the one I wanted. So use the search box if you want, or you can navigate through the individual folders. And then down here, we have subfolders. This is sort of where to that report level where we've gone from home to Edwin Analytics to assessments to MCAS to that achievement analysis student level. And so then these are the 7 reports that live in that achievement analysis student level folder. If you get to a folder and there's no reports in there, it might be that the reports are offline. I know there's one report where the reports are currently offline. They're one folder. Or it might be for this one, you might get into it and there are no reports there, and it's because you do not have access to student level data. Now, access to data is determined at the local level. So that directory administrator is the one who would have to say, not only do you have access to aggregate data in Edwin, you should also have access to student level data. It's called the administrator security role. And so that's determined at the local level. But if you do see a report, a folder with no reports, it might have to do with your security level. But if you see these, you should be able to click on them and coming back. Oh, Megan, you are hitting on something that, it breaks my heart. And it's the last bullet for this page. You might notice that there is no favorites folder. There was a favorite folder where you used to be able to favorite some reports, so you wouldn't have to do all of this searching and you could just go to the 5 reports you always run. Unfortunately, that is not currently available. We are hoping that comes back. A lot of the things that we have within Edwin sometimes are a result of a really crafty coder at some point figuring out a workaround, or because as we move through these different iterations of platforms, certain functionality isn't allowed. So at the moment, we don't have the functionality to have a favorite folder and favoriting. However, my partners in crime on the IT side know that that's a huge usability thing. And they have, we've put in, yes, we really want this. So if the platform is able to add it, they can. And we'll also continue to look at what workarounds we might be able to do to bring it back, because they are wizards like that. So unfortunately, no favoriting folders for the moment. Again, we'll do what we can until we can bring that functionality back. So then next, these are 2 of the big things I'm going to hit on Edwin and functionality. And then David, I'm going to pause on your question and circle back to it in a little bit. Okay, so just want you to know I've read it, and I will think about when's a great time for us to address it. So prompts, one of the biggest things in terms of this move is we have had to reorder the prompts, and there's a couple different reasons for it. It used to be that you sort of would go into reports, and how most users would read it, how I would recommend it is you would start sort of in the top left corner, and you would read the first column of data, or first column of prompts, and then the second column, and then the third column. And so you were reading them in columns, vertically, going up, down, up, down. That's sort of how they moved. The most important first ones you needed to do were on the left-hand side. We are now top to bottom. Reports should be read horizontally. You should start in the top corner, read across, and then go to the second row, and then the third row, left to right, whatever. And the reason we've done this is it's to try to help the performance of the reports, because some of our prompts, we need to sort of go back and touch the data center to help figure out what the other prompts should be. There's sort of an interrelationship between some of the prompts. And so we've tried to put all of those types of prompts towards the top, because it's also sometimes if you do one of those prompts, it resets other prompts. So that's another challenge. So you want to start on the top, read across, and sort of make sure your prompts. And then a lot of the sort of second and third, like the third and fourth row of prompts on some of them, those are the much more optional prompts where you're really wanting to winnow down from sort of all ninth graders to the gender, the race, ethnicity, things like that. So it's good, again, we want to start at the top, horizontally across, read across. This is the PR 600 report that we're going to show and walk through. And another thing, if after running a report you get no data, a great thing, like just reread your prompts and just make sure that there's agreement. Like, because as I said, there is a relationship between some, but the prompts, but you can still have mismatches where you maybe have an elementary school and you're saying you want a 10th grade MCAS test, right? That's not going to return anything because we don't have any 10th grade MCAS data for any of your elementary school students. At this time of year, you might be running some of these reports and you don't get a ton of kids or as many kids as you want. And it might be due to claiming. Like here, the first prompt is you're selecting from claimed students. And so if your school has not claimed, and claiming is where your school student information system sends the information to the state that says, these 100 first graders are first graders, and here's all their SACIDs. But if you're not sending that claiming information to the state, if the state hasn't, if you haven't claimed them, then we're not able to say these 100 kids are your first graders. So sometimes that could have to do with claiming. But the other thing with the prompt section, just make sure that like they filled out, they make sense. And you would know that better than some of us. So that's a big thing, prompts reordered. And another big reason we reordered the prompts, and this is a huge challenge. I know this dearly, and I still forget to do it all the time when I'm with an Edwin. Whenever you change any of the prompts, you need to hit the view report button in order for that to take effect and the new data to be shown. This was actually always the case with an Edwin. However, it used to be when you change the prompts, and so that the prompts no longer aligned with what the data was, we'd make the screen blank. That was a workaround that our IT was able to do. We are not able to do that anymore. So what happens is you change the prompts, and sometimes even the screen goes blank, and there might be even a box that pops up that says fetching new data, and it is not fetching new data. The screen comes back and it's the old data that you had just run. So if I had run a report for all my first graders, and then I change it and say I want my second graders, until I hit that view report button, I am only seeing those first graders. So it's really important. And what we've done is anytime that view report button is green, that is saying the prompts are different than the data in this report. So if the view report button is green, you should hit it in order to get the information based on what you've done. So do everything you need to do with the prompts. And then when you have all the sort of the prompts are set up for the data that you want to pull, hit view report button if it's green. So again, just really want to say that again and again. When we're in the live demo, I'll sort of show that probably every time I hit, I'll be like, you see the review report button is green. We need to hit it. So that's a big thing. View report button needs to be selected after you've made the changes in order for them to take effect. And if ever you're looking at the data, and again, you've made some changes and you're like, this doesn't make sense, just check if the view report button is green or not, and just to make sure that those two things are aligned. All right. So I'm going to pause just for a second. So David had asked about private schools, and I am not 100% sure what access you have as a therapeutic day school. I think there's a couple of reports, and I think the PR 600 is one, but that does have to do with claiming and making sure that those align. But I think David and somebody else sort of agreed with it. So my hunch is that there's maybe another person from a private school or a collaborative, because those are some of the challenges we have with sort of the alternative ways in which you're connected to kids, and making sure that you're, I guess, claiming them, or that we're able to show you, give you that the security rules all meet out. So what David, and if whoever did the thumbs up, if you're in the same boat and would like to have a deeper conversation about what the process should be for you to get access to your kids' information, just throw your name in the chat and I might follow up. Yeah, so this is where, David, I'm not 100% sure what you should be doing in terms of claiming. So this is one where we might need to like tap in with our data collection team, as well as sort of the IT side to figure out what it is. It's, again, you're a layer into the black box for me, beyond my knowledge. But if you, yes, so the viewing to claim students, but you could toggle it to the current SIMs. But again, the only challenge with that is the person who's using it needs to have like access to that student's SASID. So we just need to make sure that David's set up to say, I've claimed these kids or something, so that they have the security level to view it. But that's something. So I think, well, I think now as I've talked it through a little bit more, I think we might need to be a side conversation. All right, so next, so the PR 600 report, this is the student history report we were just talking about. I've already showed you this prompt section. I normally start with a different report, but I decided to like switch it up and see how it goes if I start with the PR 600 report. And it's this full history of school enrollment, all the schools that they've attended and the schools they've attended and their attendance rate from SIMS, course data, all the suspension information we have, as well as assessment information, MCAS, access, and for kids in high school, their CD status, and within a footnote, it notes sort of CD status as one. And this is one where you can run by SASID, or you can run by SASID. And a great thing about running by a group of SASIDs, where you can just sort of copy and paste a list of SASIDs, the kids can be from different schools, the kids can be from different grades. That can be really helpful. Or you can change it to say SASID search no, and you use your prompts, and that then you're limited to sort of a single school, a single grade. And I will say, this is another one where it's changed slightly based on sort of the platform we're in now. We're not able in the PR 600 report to have a list of the students' names on the side. So I just recommend, if you are doing a large batch of students and you want to look at their information, I would recommend you export it to PDF. So, because that's sort of easier to navigate amongst them. And I'll sort of show you what the export to PDF and export to Excel is. But with that, okay, this is what it is. We're now going to go over here. Okay. So this is, I'm going to go into training because this is the student level report. So our training environment, it doesn't necessarily help you understand Edwin, but it is a mirror image of Edwin with dummy data. It's real dummy, or not dummy data, masked data. I'm sorry. It is data, it's real student data that we've sort of taken and we've de-identified it by like giving it fake SACIDs and mixed up names and fake school information. But how you can do this is the student profile report. So let's say I type profile. It's the PR 600 student profile report. I also could have done it by folders, going into the student profile, the student enrollment indicator, student profile folder, could have turned up here. So here's again our prompt section. And the big thing here is the first step is claimed students. And so if I was wanting to see who are my current kids, especially like who are my current ninth graders, if I'm a high school and these are kids I haven't had before, claimed students is what you would need to run. I'm in the training environment and it doesn't have claimed data. And in fact, the data lags a year or two behind. So I can do sort of Sims 21, 22. What you will see again, I'm just going to point out, view report button is green because I've changed something and this, it's not actually taken effect yet. This is a student level report. And so most of the reports you open and there's data already populating it. A number of our student level reports don't do that. Just because it's like, in this case, the first student whose name started with A in pre-K, not every person who logs on needs to see that. In this report, you'll notice there's a number of things that say not applicable because it's asking for SACID search and it's tied to yes. And if we're going to search by SACID, all we're going to do is throw some SACIDs in this box. And you can either copy and paste them, you can type them by hand. They either need to have a comma in between them or appear on different lines. You can delete this enter SACIDs if applicable, but as long as there's some data, as long as there's data there, as long as it appears on another line or with a comma in between it, it will work fine. However, if I click this to no, you see this district, org, and the school and program now have other information in it. It used to say not applicable because I was doing a SACID search. Now I'm saying no, I want to go through the prompts to identify my group of kids. So let's say I do school and program. Let's make it a 10th grader. And then, oh no, I want all income. I want all race, gender. Do I want to include all students? Yes. Or do I just want to include graduated students, things like that? In general, I tend to like focus the first time I run it, keep as many of the prompts on sort of their default select all option. But a big one on this report, if I'm using the prompts, is I want to select the right grade because I can only run grade at a time. This is one, I picked a high school, so I want to make sure I pick a high school grade because as you saw, it was PK high school. If I run that, I'm going to get no data. So I've done this. I've changed it to grade 10. Sure, I want all L students. I want all Title I. I want all the sections. Report button is green, so I'm going to hit view report. And now it's saying loading report, whatever. But sometimes the screen says fetching data. I don't think it says loading report. I think when it says loading report, it's the final. Well, no. Anyways, you've hit it. This is going to take a little while. So as this is loading, and this is this is pulling a lot of information, so it is taking a little bit of time. I'm also in the training environment, which runs just a little bit slower than Edwin for real. But now we have it, and you see there's all this information. I can show you it because it's been masked. But let's see. This this prompt section is taking up a ton of information here. I can hide this prompt section by hitting parameters. That's sort of the show hide for this section. Oh, I want to change something and rerun the report. I hit it again, but I can hide it. And then more of my screen can be devoted to the information instead of sort of the report prompt section. So I do that. I have first this most recent Sims. I then have all the schools that the student has attended. If they've attended more schools in a single year, that will be repeated. Like there might be 2 entries for 2022 if the kid attended more than one school. Or if they were retained, you can notice that by seeing the same grade for multiple years. That's really helpful. It's also sometimes helpful to see where some of these things change over time. Then you get all the end of year course marks. If you have a kid with a ton of withdrawn courses and that's distracting, you can go up to the parameter section, and I thought you could, oh, that's not in here. You can hide those withdrawn courses. I think that is an option in there somewhere in the real version of this report. You have all of their grades. You then have their MCAS information and their CD status. And then at the bottom of the CD status, this is old, but you would see something that says CD status as now. If you were running it, it would be as for June 2023. It's CD status through there. And you get all that information. Now, again, also within here, just to show you some differences, this is the export menu. As I said, I think it is easier to view this report if I export to PDF. All you have to do is hit there, export menu in that button. This is also a multi-page report. So if I want to see the next kid, I can click over here and you do it. And hold on just 1 second, I'll view the chat. I'm just going to show you here is if I export it all to PDF, it exports like this. And then if I just sort of hit this little bookmark thing, I then have all the students and I can do things like, oh, I actually want to see Kevin Boyd's. It's easier for me to go to Kevin through that. Whereas if I'm in the HTML web version of this report, it is now harder to sort of jump between students. So I just want to say I highly recommend export to PDF if you're looking at a batch of students and wanting to play around with them. So let me just read the comments for a second. So if you are in Edwin Analytics for real, and I'll just show you. So I'm now, we are viewing, yes, Edwin Analytics for real. Students and indicators, student profile report. And was that too bad? So we're in the student profile report. We're looking at the prompt sections. It does default to select from claimed. However, if you don't have claimed students, you can go back to Sims 2022-23. So those will be kids who appeared in your 2022-23 that you had last year per se. But claimed students for your current year, you might want to be in claimed students. And it does sausage search. And so here is, I'll give as an example, this is a Excel version of a PR 600 report that I downloaded. And so we have all of these, and this is how it downloads, where it's sort of each section is for all the kids on a single tab, is how the Excel version downloads. But I've de-identified a number of them. So let's say I really want these 11 SACIDs. I have them in an Excel spreadsheet. I can just copy them. So they're copied. And then I'm minimizing that. I'm back in here. I'm in the SACID search. And I click on the box and I click in and I just pasted them. I controlled V, paste, and I now have them there. Yeah, and so I'm not 100% sure if you say Sims 22-23. I think it will be all kids you have throughout the school year. But let me confirm. I might need to confirm that, Jean. I'm not 100% positive. If it's just the most recent Sims for that year, it might be the most recent, right? So at that point, it would be the final end of year Sims. So this is how I would get it for a group of kids. And so I hit view report, and now I have it for just those kids that I was able to do. It doesn't matter that I kept that enter SACIDs if applicable because it was on another line. Oopsies. Oh, these are not claimed oops, I'm in the real one. Never mind. That these are fake SACIDs, as I said. I'm sorry. I was in the real one, not realizing it. But if you would do that, and if you put real kids who were claimed, they would pop up. However, if you want to use the prompts, all you do is change this to no, and now I can select any of these districts or orgs. And so this was, David, where are you from? Well, I don't know what therapeutic day school are, but I don't know what you're at. And I'm not positive if they're in this list, but if you are in this list, then you should be able to pull this up. And then this school or program is tied to whatever district or org you've selected. And you can then go through these prompt sections if you don't have the individual SACIDs. But if you have the individual SACIDs, again, if I change this back to yes. And this, it should work. And you are from Compass. I'm pretty sure that was in here. Oh, maybe it's not. Oh, yeah. I am not sure if you're in this, David, so we'll have to do this. So Joanne Johnson, Joanne, I'm not sure. Um, I'm not sure. When you say you can't add an individual SACID, so if you click on this box, it can be a little tricky where like you not only you click on this box, you sort of have to then click within the box below it, right? Like I don't think you can type when you're in the box next to the SACID, you need to type below it. It's a little bit different to copy and paste in here. It operates a little bit differently than some of the other reports. Like, okay, so okay, David, so you are on that list. You're able to see yourself. That's good. Yeah, you do have to scroll over. So again, this depends on what size screen you're on. Like if I'm on a slightly bigger screen than this laptop screen, I don't have scroll bars for this. But you might need to scroll over. You might need to scroll down to see all the prompts. See, there it is. Show courses, all end of year courses, or just the completed courses. That was here. It was hidden. I looked at that before and was like, oh, I don't know where that is. So you have that. Another thing I'll show, I'm just going to go into the Edwin proper and just start to look at a different report. If you're in this report, if you're in some of the other reports for drop downs, like this one, this is a report. It's an aggregate report, so it does show up with data in it, and you can then adjust the filters to have the one you want. Now, let's say I have access to a lot of districts, and I think this report, you have access to other districts' information, so all districts will be there. But what if I'm Worcester and I'm just too lazy to scroll down to Worcester? If I want to type in this box, I can, which is different than that SACID search issue. You can just sort of type in the box, but it doesn't delete what's there. So I recommend if you do want to get there, if you do want to type instead of scroll, delete what's in the box. And then as you type, it will sort of show you, it'll autofill to the options that match what you've typed. And it doesn't need to be, perfect. So it's like I have Worcester and Southern Worcester County comes up. So it's not like, it needs to be an exact match. It will show anything that has something that is in there. And that I think can especially be helpful sometimes if you have a long list of schools that you want to get to. But so you can do that. And again, I click on this. View report button is green, which means I am not seeing Worcester. I just changed it from Abby Kelly to Worcester. And it looked like it did it. Like this is all schools. And now let's say I just wanted Adams. See, like looked like it was doing something for a second, but nothing has changed below. The report button is green. I need to hit view report. And Adams Street, that would not return me any data because again, I'm on grade 10. And so I would need to change it. Let's see. I'm going to assume that's maybe elementary school. And then you can hit view report and you get information. So now it's loading the report. Oh, it says no data available. So I likely chose something wrong. That is not a school in Worcester. Oh, it hadn't updated that. Okay, well, let's do this. I don't know why a school not in Worcester showed up, but it is very expected that I find it in a live demo. That's all the time. So again, if this report, let's say I'm like, oh, this is super helpful. I want to share this in a meeting. You can export. I could export it to a PowerPoint slide if I wanted that. I can export it to PDF. I could export it to Excel. This says it's a multi-page report. I'm pretty sure the second page is the notes section. This one doesn't have really interesting notes, but another report might have a really important piece of information for me in interpreting it. And so definitely sort of check the notes page. Sometimes those appear as the bottom of the page. Sometimes it's at the top of the page. Sometimes it's on the last page. There are also other reports, especially I think some of our ed prep and educator reports where you have a little eye in a circle. That's for more information. You hover over that. You can have sort of a pop-up window for more information to help you interpret the report. This report has functionality where I can click to sort. These arrows mean I can sort it based on possible points. I can sort it based on the percentage I got with either the lowest at the top or the highest at the top. I can click this. Any sort of hyperlink is going to connect you with more information. This is going to provide me information about that item. If it's a SACID in a report that has been hyperlinked, typically that's going to take you to that student profile report for that student. So if you're in another report looking at the test item analysis of a particular student, and you're like, oh, wow, this is crazy. I wonder how they did on the 4th grade MCAS. If there's a hyperlink to the SACID, you likely can click on that and you'll either get the assessment history in an assessment history report or an assessment history in a PR 600 report. So that's what sort of the hyperlinks are. It connects you to a different report. They typically open, I think almost always in a new window. So that's sort of some information there. So let me just double check. Okay, search by SACID. Let me see if I've covered everything I planned to do. Report by, yeah, here's a school with fill rate. Yeah, walk through that. If you scroll drop down menus, remove text and type over. Oh yes. So in a lot of the reports, and this is if you haven't been in Edwin for for 2 years, school and district reports used to be separate reports. Last year, during a different migration, we merged those all together. So now most reports, you can either run them for at the district level or for an individual school or for a subgroup of schools. So it can vary, but those are typically in the same reports. Hyperlinks takes you to another one. Helpful information at the bottom of the screen or on the last page, at the beginning or end, hover. Enough props to the amount of work that was done over this summer. And I'm sorry, I just got an internet unstable notice. So if I freeze at all, I'm very sorry. Oh no. Here, I'm gonna stop my video in case that helps. Okay, so I'm sorry if I froze at all there. I think I did. I got an internet unstable and it looked like It looked like you all froze, so I don't know if my audio continued. Um, which it's funny to be on a running into problems tab when I run into my own internet problems. But a tremendous amount of work went into migrating these reports and doing this work for it to be functional in sort of the new platform. However, there will be glitches, and some are known. So some are known glitches that we are continuing to address over the next week or two, and some are not. We did a ton of smoke testing, a ton of testing through the back half of August to try to get everything ready. But if you are in a report and it looks a little funky or weird, please um, please fill out a ticket. So a ticket is hitting the contact us button and uh, hitting a contact us button and just filling out some information to let us know what's going on. And it helps us improve the reports. It also helps us know what are new reports that people would really value. So can someone put in the chat if you're able to hear me? I'm worried. Okay, good. Jennifer, you're my one person video. So when you freeze, I panic. I'm not saying you need to move a lot, but I all of a sudden was like, I do not know what is occurring. So I know we have about just over 10 minutes left. If there are any sort of additional questions, please feel free to come off mute and ask them. I sort of, this is almost the last screen with my reminder of the two most important things. Read the prompts horizontally from top to bottom. And after you make all your changes, be sure to hit that view report button. If the report button is green, that means you are not seeing all the information based on the prompts that you've selected, that there is a prompt that that has not been taken into account. So those are, I think, the two most important things again and again to keep in mind as we're working on this. But yeah, if there's any other questions, please feel free to come off mute or throw them in the chat. Well, here, I will stop the recording.